Today, January 11th, the year 2012. For the second time in 2 years, Hostess Brands, which employs around 370 people at a bakery in Biddeford, appears in bankruptcy court. Strikers picket outside the Hostess Baker facility in Biddeford on November 13th of 2012. A spokesperson for the company, whose cake products include Twinkies, Ding Dongs, says the filing will not result in job losses in Biddeford. But in November of that year, embroiled in a strike that includes workers at the Biddeford plant, the national company closes all 33 of its bakeries. 4 months later, a bankruptcy judge authorizes the company to sell its assets. It does, including that building, but it would never open again as a bakery. Until tomorrow, I'm Brian Sullivan.